Hey guys, welcome to Clearly Clueless, the podcast where we admit we don't have it all figured out, but we're asking the right questions. I'm your host, my name is Panna, and today's episode is something I've been thinking about a lot, and honestly, something I've personally struggled with. So today's topic is oversharing versus being mysterious. On one hand, we're told be authentic, be vulnerable, share your truth. But on the other hand, we hear move in silence. Not everyone deserves access to you, and mystery is power. So, which one is it? Is oversharing brave or is it self sabotage? Is being mysterious confident or just emotionally unavailable? And how do you know when you're sharing from a healthy place versus a wounded place? Well, that's what we're unpacking today. And just so you know, this episode isn't about shaming oversharers or glorifying people who never open up. This is about self awareness, boundaries, and intentional connection. So if you've ever walked away from a conversation thinking, why did I say all that? Or felt like people don't really know you because you keep everything locked up, then this episode is for you. So let's get into it. Part 1. Why we overshare. Let's start with oversharing because most of us don't do it just randomly. Oversharing usually comes from good intentions. So here are some of the real reasons people overshare. 1. We want to feel seen. A lot of us didn't grow up feeling emotionally validated. So when someone finally listens, and I mean really listens, we pour everything out. Oversharing becomes a way of saying, please understand me, please see the real me. I remember being in situations where someone would ask me a simple question like, how have you been? And suddenly I'm giving them a full emotional TED talk. Not because I wanted sympathy, but because no one had ever asked me properly before. And by the way, that's not weakness, that's unmet emotional need. 2. We confuse vulnerability with connection. Vulnerability does create closeness, but only when it's mutual and safe. Oversharing skips the safety part. It's like giving someone the keys to your house before even knowing their last name. True connection is built layer by layer and not all at once. 3. We overshare to regulate our emotions. This one is big. Sometimes we overshare because we're overwhelmed and talking is how we process. We're not actually trying to connect, we're trying to relieve discomfort. And here's the truth. Other people are not your emotional dumping ground. But that doesn't make you bad. It just means you need better coping tools. Part 2. The cost of oversharing. Oversharing isn't harmless. So let's talk about what it can quietly cost you. 1. It can make people feel emotionally responsible for you. When you overshare too quickly, people may feel pressured to fix, rescue, or hold space they didn't consent to. That can push people away, even good people. Not because they don't care, but because it's too much too soon. 2. It can blur boundaries. When you share everything with everyone, you end up with no emotional hierarchy. Your coworker or your classmate knows as much as your best friend. A stranger knows details your inner circle doesn't. Boundaries aren't walls, they're filters. 1. Don't overshare your plans. So this happens to me on a daily basis when my friends or classmates ask me like, what are your plans for this afternoon? What are your plans for the weekend or the winter break? Or you get the deal. And I used to say like my whole itinerary, like, oh, I'm going to my grandma's, then I'm going to a sleepover with friends, we're going to party, but maybe we're staying in and cooking something. And I was just rambling about this because I knew that they were my friends, they were probably interested in it, but you know, you become a little bit boring if you share everything about yourself constantly. Then you don't give people space to wonder about you. So instead, now when I get asked the same question, like what are your plans for today or for the weekend, I always say that, oh, I'm busy. I have things going on. And firstly, I'm going to the gym today. Just this. And with this, I said something that they know, like, she's disciplined. She's going to the gym. Okay, she's mysterious. She didn't overshare. We don't know what she's doing after, but we know that she's busy. She's got things going on. So, this is what I've been doing recently. 2, you don't seek validation. This one is hard in this day and age, especially if you're a teenager, because you constantly seek validation from your friends, your parents, your ops, your like basically everyone, just not from yourself. If you try to just be a little more confident in yourself, and by the way, I'm going to do an episode on confidence too, and I'm gonna explain it further, but if you're confident in yourself, then you will find that you will no longer need other people's validation in order for you to feel good about yourself. And that comes with a certain amount of mystery, because then you won't feel the need to tell everyone how you're feeling, where you're going, what your plans are. You just answer when you get asked, you're being nice, and it's healthy. 3, you don't explain yourself unnecessarily. So if someone maybe doesn't get a joke you just told, then I used to do like, oh, it's funny because there was a reference in this and that, and oh, it's funny, and it's okay if you don't get it. Like I used to over explain myself completely unnecessarily. And now I just see how blunt that was. Like, you didn't get the joke? Okay, then it's on you. Like, I'm not gonna feel ashamed or I'm not gonna feel awkward about it. I'm just gonna move on and let them just sink into themselves and like say to themselves, why didn't I understand what you just told me? And I think being mysterious is basically this, like leaving space for people to wonder about you. But here's the catch. Unhealthy mystery is actually emotional avoidance. Some people aren't mysterious, they're just scared to be known. They've been hurt before, so they protect themselves by staying surface level. And that's not confidence, that's self protection. Part 4, oversharing versus being mysterious. The real difference. The difference isn't how much you share, it's why you share. Ask yourself, am I sharing to connect or to be validated? Am I sharing because I trust this person or because I'm anxious? Would I still feel grounded if they didn't respond the way I want? Healthy people share intentionally. They don't spill everything. They don't hide everything. They discern. They don't seek other people's attention, opinion on every single thing that they do. And ever since I've been this confident that I am now, I have not been feeling the need to overshare. And it just gives you such a strong feeling of staying true to yourself. You don't seek, and you no longer need other people's validation or opinions on everything. You just feel calm and collected and put together in yourself. And it just feels so damn good. Part 5. How to find the balance. Here are some practical shifts you can make. First, create emotional tiers. Not everyone deserves the same level of access. So tier number 1, inner circle. This needs to consist of 2 or 3 good friends. I'm so lucky and I got blessed with the best of friends. I have 3 best friends that I would take a bullet for. And I know they would too for me. And it's so rare because I've struggled so much, and I touched on this in the previous episode about outgrowing friendships, that I lost so many people, not just last year, but during my life. And it just feels so refreshing to now have this inner circle that I can trust and I can be myself around truly. Tier number 2, friends. So this tier consists of other friends. So maybe like 4 or 6 other friends that you consider good friends. Not your best friends and not your lifers, but your other friends. Tier 3, acquaintances. This is a much broader circle. This consists of people like other classmates that you just exchange a laugh, a glance, or 1 or 2 conversations, like people that you sympathize with, but you don't really consider them like your friends. Tier 4, the internet. This is the widest circle of them all. The internet deserves the least of your attention. Different tiers, different information. 2, pause before you share. Ask yourself, do I want to feel better or to be better understood? If you just need relief, journal first. Don't dump your BS on other people. 3, let people earn your story. Your story is sacred. It deserves safety. Part 6, a personal reframe. I used to think open meant telling everyone everything. Now I see it completely differently. Being emotionally mature means knowing what to share, knowing when to stay quiet, and being okay with not being fully understood by everyone. You don't owe people access. You don't have to disappear to be powerful. Part 7, oversharing in the age of social media. Let's talk about something we can't ignore. Social media has completely blurred the line between vulnerability and performance. We're now living in a world where trauma gets turned into content. I see videos every single day about just random people dumping their traumas on us, and we keep watching it and we feel depressed and we wonder why we feel such anxiety within ourselves. Like, we're basically watching strangers' stories unfold. We're anticipating their videos about their traumas. And if I got misunderstood, would I still feel confident in myself? Like, I don't need to chase their validation. Take it as you want it. I know what I wanted to project, what I wanted to say. And if it didn't come across properly, then life is life. Am I posting for expression or reassurance and attention? There's a quiet difference between I've been through this and here's what I learned, and I'm still hurting, please hold me. Both are human, but only one should be public. Not everything needs an audience. Some things need privacy to breathe. Part A. Being mysterious in relationships. Now let's bring this into dating, friendships, and relationships. There's a lot of advice out there saying, don't text back too fast, don't reveal too much, stay mysterious, so they want you more. First of all, these are emotional games and not emotional boundaries. I just get so frustrated whenever this particular topic comes up because I had a relationship where first I overshared a bit. Like, I was so happy about this pure connection that I finally felt safe with someone. I just dumped everything on them. And then I was surprised why they were backing away. And I started something that were just completely out of touch. I started replying more dry. I started being more mysterious and waiting like 3-4 hours to text back. And it just came across as ignorant and unnecessarily playful. So they just told me like, why are you doing this? It comes across as rude. You're not like this. I would like to emphasize this again and again. Emotional games are not the same as emotional boundaries. And I'm so tired that dating and friendships and just human relationships all together became this game where we have to use tactics when we're replying or texting or calling or meeting. It's so tiring. Like, I'm so done with it. Like, so done. If I like someone, if I love someone, then I don't want to play games. When I see your text, I'm not gonna sit there like, okay, timer starts now. I'm gonna reply in 4 hours. No. I'm mature enough to admit that I like you, I saw your text, and I'm replying. So that's it. Healthy mystery in relationships looks like this: not trauma dumping on the first date, letting trust build naturally, sharing your story as the relationship deepens. Well, this takes patience. Patience that our generation does not really have, considering we have an attention span of 1.20 something seconds. So it's really challenging, I'm not gonna lie. Unhealthy mystery looks like withholding emotions to feel in control, avoiding hard conversations, being vague to stay accountable. In these points, I've touched on when I mentioned my previous relationship, so I'm just now gonna unfold them again, if you don't mind. If someone has access to your body but not your emotions, that's not mystery, that's disconnection. Part 9. When oversharing becomes a defense mechanism. Here's something people don't talk about enough. Oversharing can actually be an armor. Some of us share everything up front, so no one can use it against us later. Rejection hurts less because they already know. And we control the narrative. It feels like honesty, but it's actually fear. It's saying, if I expose myself first, you can't hurt me. But real safety isn't exposure, it's discernment. You don't need to tell your whole story to prove that you're real. Your presence already does that. And if you think that, oh, they don't like me, but I've spent so much time with them, not necessarily talking, but just being with them, being in their presence, and they still don't feel the energy that you have, that you're bringing to the table, then I always ask myself, like, will they like me more if I overshare, or am I just desperate to get accepted at somewhere? But if they feel your energy, then you're at the right table. You don't have to overshare. You don't have to wear that armor. The connection will deepen naturally, and trust will build. Part 10. Silence as a form of self-respect. This one particularly changed my life. Silence is not weakness. You don't need to explain your decisions, justify your boundaries, or narrate your growth. You just have to put your foot down, stand strong in the wind. Some chapters don't need commentary. When you stop oversharing, a few things happen. Here's some examples. You become less reactive. You trust yourself more and your instincts and your gut. You stop looking outside for validation. Silence creates gravity, not because you're hiding, but because you're grounded. And it's a different type of energy that you can somehow feel in confident and healthy, mysterious people. Here's the truth I want to leave you with. You're allowed to change. You're allowed to share less than you used to. You're allowed to be softer with fewer people. You're allowed to protect your energy without explaining it. If you used to overshare, that version of you was surviving. If you're learning restraint, this version of you is healing. Neither is wrong. One of my favorite quotes connects to this topic, and it's by Professor Ocean Wong. And he says, our past self was the pebble, and our current self is the ripples. And this quote stuck with me so much because I too tend to fall into the trap that he explains, that we so often look down upon our past selves. We always say that they were naive, that they did not really know what they were doing. But the thing that we don't see is we are the product, or we are the result of our past selves. So this is why I love this quote, because if you think about a puddle and if you throw a pebble in, then after the pebble, there comes the ripples. Growth is becoming intentional. And the more you trust yourself, the less you'll feel the need to prove, perform, or over-explain. That's clarity, that's confidence. And that's how you stop being clueless. Just enough. And I would like to give a shout out to my two whimsical friends. You know who you are. And they are the ones that I always discuss the topics that I want to talk about in my podcast. And I had multiple on my mind today. and they ended up voting for this one. So they are my constant inspiration, and I love you, my angels. Now let's get back to the conversation. If you've listened to the previous 2 episodes of my podcast, then you might know that I have a segment called Affirmations and Practical Exercise. So in each episode, I share an exercise and some positive affirmations connected to that specific topic that you can do and you can practice. For today's affirmations, for oversharing versus being mysterious. First, I want you to pause a little bit. Focus on your breathing and just be still. Firstly, I want to say some affirmations for people who tend to overshare. Here they come. I want you to say these in front of the mirror to yourself while looking into your own eyes. I do not need to explain myself to be worthy. My feelings are valid even when I keep them private. I am allowed to pause before I speak. Not everyone needs access to my inner world. I can process my emotions without giving them away. I trust myself to choose the right people at the right time. Now, here come the affirmations for people who hide behind mystery. It is safe for me to be seen. Vulnerability does not make me weak. I am allowed to let people know me slowly. I don't lose power by being honest. And I can protect myself without shutting down. And lastly, affirmations for balance and emotional maturity. I want you to place your hand on your heart and say this. I share with intention, not impulse. I trust my discernment. And I'm grounded in myself. So if you're an oversharer, you're not broken, you're human. And if you're mysterious, make sure it's coming from confidence and not fear. And remember, the goal is intentional honesty. Well, we have reached the very end of this episode. And if you've stayed this long, I'm so beyond honored to have gotten your attention. It was a pleasure spending time with you. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who needs it or with someone you love. And as always, we're all just figuring it out. So this is clearly Clueless, and I'll talk to you next time. I love you guys. Bye.